It is very good practice to clean your cords on a regular basis while wearing gloves, of course. You're going to want to do this with bleach and paper towels. You would be surprised at how much ink collects on these cords. Even though I do bleach down my machines time to time, it will cause them to rust, and rust is bad for a tattoo machine. It is very important that your cords never touch the customer or the setup. It takes a bit of practice to get this correct, but cross-contamination of any kind is bad. These cords need to be kept away, again, away from the customer and the setup. You should always pick up the tattoo machine from the tube. And if you don't know what a tube is, you don't need to be tattooing in the first damn place. But you never pick your machine up by the machine while doing a job. Now, some artists do place baggies over the machine and use protective slips for their cords. And I think that's good. I think that's very good. However, the process of taking them off is a bit tricky. Like I said, this takes a bit of practice. Tattooing is not an easy thing to do. Everybody would be doing it. Everybody thinks they can do it, but again, it takes practice and finesse. There's more to tattooing than just the artistic side of it. A lot of artists will use separate machines for outlining and shading. I think that's great. I think that's the best way to do it. Some people can use one machine, but that's a bit tricky. It's got to be set a certain way, and it requires a certain style of tattooing and art use to pull that off. Now, anytime you are changing from liner to shader, especially if you were using the same machine, you need to reglove. Changing it out requires touching of the machine, which does not need to be anywhere near the customer's open skin or the setup itself. So you always reglove when going from lining to shading. Also, proper shading requires you to turn down the volume on your power supply. You will also need to reglove for this process. Do not be afraid to go through gloves. There's no sense in shortcutting. Anytime you touch that power supply, you need to reglove. Now, it is best to use quality machines. I do not recommend using any machine that comes in a starter kit. Good machines cost money. Now, you're going to spend at least $100 on a decent machine. You may get lucky and get one for $80, but if you're looking to budget for a good machine, you want to buy it separately than some fucking kit. And you're going to want to spend at least $100, if not $150, on each machine that you use. What you were looking for is for the machine to provide a lot of throw without having to crank up the power supply. That is very, very important. Typically, most shader machines are a bit bulkier and heavier, but now you have really good brands. I recommend them highly, like Time Machine, where they kind of look the same, but the back of the machine, the shader is going to be at a more slanted angle, whereas your lining machine is going to be angled more straight forward. The way that it slants or is straight in the back typically determines whether it is a shading or a lining machine. Make sure you use tattoo machines to perform tattoos. Do not use any fucking toothbrush motor, home-rigged bullshit for your machines. It is laughable. It is ridiculous. It's shitty. There's no possible fucking way to continue doing sterile jobs with a homemade rig. Toothbrush motors. I mean, get the fuck out of here. You can't charge people for your work if you're not using good quality machines.